Schefter came out and said, hey, the one date that will cause some Steelers personnel to get squeamish about Rodgers not coming here is if he isn't signed by the start of OTAs on Monday, because that will mean he will have at least missed something that the team would want him to be present for. Like, hey, you know what the offense is, but we want you to get here and actually get acclimated in it, get to know your teammates, etc. So Schefter said if he's not here Monday and signed, then they might start to get cold feet or start to wonder if it's actually going to happen. Do you think that that's a plausible theory on Adam's part?
100%. And isn't this what I've been saying to you for a good month now? Everything that I know from every conversation that I've had with Aaron Rodgers, including at the end of the season, when we had extensive conversation about the Jets, his younger teammates, what he had been through in trying to help the Jets franchise the last 2 years, plus conversations that I've had with personnel people, executives, and coaches who have talked to him through this process, has been that Aaron Rodgers may not necessarily have the appetite for an off-season program and having to marshal through a new culture, help new teammates, help young teammates, push people along. I've said this to you for quite some time. The Vikings were so appealing because in his mind and in many people's minds, that's a team that's ready to make a run at the Super Bowl. It is in a completely professional outfit that just got significantly better on both sides of the line, that is playing outstanding defense, that has a lot of superstar power, and that already has a really strong leadership base in that locker room. That's a team that Aaron Rodgers could slide into and, in theory, take them to the Super Bowl. The Vikings have made the decision, we're going to ride with our young guy, J.J. McCarthy, for now. So as this was put to me by somebody who's had more recent conversations with Aaron Rodgers, an NFL person who's had more recent conversations than I've had, there are a lot of people that are not convinced, or there are a lot of people that feel Aaron Rodgers is more likely to retire. Is definitely, let me say it this way, Aaron Rodgers is more likely to retire than he is to come to a team that he doesn't believe is a Super Bowl contender. He's had a great career. It's a Hall of Fame career. He's made plenty of money. He's 41 years old. He's got tons of other interests. He's a voracious reader, as I've told you. He's curious about the world. Seriously.
No, I know.
Does he want to, at the age of 41, having already made $500 million, does he want to once again come into a locker room where he has to help remake the locker room, where he has to be the leader, where he has to push young guys along, where he has to tell guys, hey, this is the difference between being a Hall of Fame receiver and being a one-trick wonder or a one-trick pony? Does he really have the appetite for that?
I mean, when you put it that way, you make it sound like you don't think he's going to come here. That's how I take that. That's how I feel, having heard you say all that. And I trust your reporting. Hearing you say that makes me think he's not going to sign here and he's going to retire or wait for something better.
Unless you think that in the next little bit, the Steelers, that Aaron Rodgers is convinced that the Steelers are actually a Super Bowl contender and that this locker room, this offense, doesn't need as much care and feeding and as much leadership.
But what would change his mind if he didn't?
Drafting Shedeur Sanders is really going to jumpstart that.
Aditi, yeah. Other than the draft, where Aaron Rodgers would be projecting based on it, they picked a guy that he thinks is going to be a good pro. Like, what would change his mind now? He's had a lot of time to consider what he thinks of the franchise. I just don't see a guy like that going, maybe I need to reconsider my notes here and come back to this again.
I think you're hearing the same thing. Cam Hayward backtracked on this and, once again, just like me, is so careful to be diplomatic and cleaned it up. We heard Ryan Clark say this. If Aaron Rodgers was all in on the Steelers, if Aaron Rodgers said, you know what, that's a place that I'm going to go help reestablish an offensive identity, reestablish leadership on offense, change some of the culture around what we've seen from the wide receiver group, take them to the next level, why would it not have already happened?